Okay, it's time to start. So, Larry, would you like to say an opening prayer?
I would. Let's pray. Father God, we are just so very thankful for this day, Lord. We're thankful for everything that you do for us. We're thankful for this community, Lord. And we just ask you to help us to make the right decisions in all that we do, Lord. May it be the right decision for you and the community. In the precious name of Jesus, amen.
Okay, I'd like to call the Yale City Commission regular meeting to order. Deanna, could you take the roll call, please?
Mr. Porter?
Here.
Mr. Strader?
Here.
Mr. Larry Brown?
Here.
Mr. Jason Brown?
Here.
Mrs. Griffin?
Here.
Okay, item 3, consent agenda, approval of minutes, regular meeting December 12th, 2023, approval of claims and financial statements. This time I'd like to remove PO numbers 74010, 74040, and 74043 from the consent agenda.
I would like to remove 74042.
Anybody else?
Make the motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented with the remaining items.
I'll second.
Mrs. Griffin?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Strader?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Larry Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jason Brown?
Yes. Item 4 is those items removed. We will start with 74010, 74040, and 74043, which are the ones that I had removed. Anybody want to make a motion on those?
Make that motion, we approve the library consent agenda items that were pulled off.
I can second that. I'll second that.
Mrs. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Strader?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Larry Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jason Brown?
Abstain. Next item is PO number 74042.
I had a question. I just wanted to be sure that everyone was, I know there's a picture of it in our Andy and Phil's report. Since I thought it was a pretty vague bid, personally, I wanted to be sure that everyone was satisfied with what the abatement on F420 South B, the work that was done, and that it was done to your satisfaction or to what your expectations. That's before we approve it.
Yes, it was.
It was, everything is good.
Yes.
Okay. The pole light stays and the other things they're there.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted some clarification on that.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve a PO number 74042.
I'll second.
Mrs. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Strader?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Larry Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jason Brown?
Yes. Item 5, public appearances. The public may address the mayor and city commission at this time regarding matters over which the commission has control that are not listed on the agenda. The city commission is prohibited by the Oklahoma open meeting law from discussing or taking any action on matters presented during this time and may refer such items to the appropriate staff members for resolution. Title 25, Section 301. Does anybody have anything they want to bring before the board today?
Yeah, we still need utilities.
Anybody else? Commissioners? Moving on, item 6, ordinances. Consideration, discussion, and action on ordinance number 412 and ordinance amending sections 4-21 of chapter 4 of the Yale City Code to provide for recreational vehicles within the city of Yale, Oklahoma, and declaring an emergency.
Asked by the mayor to draft this ordinance regarding RV vehicles within the city. It would change what the law has been if you were to pass it. Law, obviously, having for some time now prohibited the permanent habitation of RVs. A couple of points, and then I'll do the best I can to answer any questions or sit and go from there. I attempted as much as possible to mirror or copy the ordinance that we've had in place for a number of years relating to mobile homes. The more I looked at it and actually looked at the plumbing and electrical safety codes of the state of Oklahoma, and I just don't think those are applicable to an RV. It's just a different animal. It's like trying to probably in some ways put a saddle on a cow or saddle on a giraffe. I don't know what my analogy would be. So that's not in here as far as me saying to the five of you that it models quite a bit after the mobile home ordinance. Other than that, it does model a lot after the mobile home ordinance, but those provisions are relating to the plumbing and electrical codes of the state of Oklahoma are not in here. And I don't think we can put them in here.
No.
So other than that, I'll answer any questions or I'll be quiet.
So what prompted this being brought up?
I think we have some citizens here that are in desperate need of utilities, and it's about to get very, very cold. Not to mention that there are already RVs scattered throughout the town that were kind of grandfathered in, and I don't feel like it's fair to say you can have an RV but you can't. That's the reason why I put it on here.
I guess the ones that are already here, though, the difference that, I mean, I have, a couple of neighbors that are living in RVs, but they didn't come before, they're not coming before the city to get utilities. They're plugging into their mom's or their brothers or whoever's RV, utilities. So how are you going to be able to enforce this? I mean, what if I decided, okay, or somebody moves into town with their RV, their parents have even if this is in place, how's this going to be enforced if they just plug into their parents' utilities, which is going on in town? I mean, I know it is, but how's that going to be enforced? Because some people do plug their RVs in. We used to have one, we plug it in, but we weren't living in it, but we keep it plugged in, so you can't tell. So I'm just wanting some clarification here. How are we going to enforce it if they don't come to City Hall?
Police and city code enforcement, it's their
Well,
job.
that's what I know, but I'm just saying, how are we going to know?
I lived here for 7 years in Troutville. They didn't know it, but they.
And then my other question on this is, does this mean if my house burns down and I decide I don't want to build a new house, as long as I'm in compliance, I can put an RV on my property? It can go anywhere, any neighborhood. I don't know, is there still covenants up in Western Heights? There used to be covenants for things that you could and couldn't do. So I don't know if you could put, well, like if a house burned down up there, somebody want to put an RV in place of the house, it would be legal.
There's
We
already an
have-
RV up there.
We have no zoning in Yale, so
Yeah.
that would be the municipality's authority to regulate an RV only through, the municipality would have the authority to prohibit that under the public safety and power clauses of our grant of powers municipality. But we have no zoning, never have, as I think all of you know. And so that would not be an effective tool for the municipality as far as covenants. Yeah, I remember them. I assume they're still in place, but it's been a long time since I've looked. Don't know.
I always thought there
I
were.
said
I
that.
heard that when I first moved here, that there was,
I-
it's a new neighborhood.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, basically, if somebody comes in and they say, they fill out the paperwork and they're gonna put the RV on such and such property, just like a mobile home, I assume it would be pretty much the same. Then we would know then, but there's a lot of people that have RVs plugged in, and if something's said, they're like, well, we're just keeping it warm.
Mhm.
We don't know if anybody's living in it. But, it would be up to, the person that's basically getting utilities hooked up is the ones that we would know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's who you know, is people that were willing to come in and who even knew this was an ordinance. We have so many people that come to meetings and they don't read the code books and they just, yell's kind of a wild, wild west in a way. Things just sort of happen here. And so I understand this, and the word recreational is just in itself makes this kind of a interesting ordinance, because recreational and it's kind of a paradox there. You're living in your recreational vehicle, but I understand. I mean, there's lots of really nice ones, and there are a lot of features that some homes don't even have, and so it's that. But it's just very difficult. It's really difficult.
Ms. Breton, did you want to speak on this?
Yeah, I've lived here for over 7 years in a travel trailer, and the police knew we lived there. He might say he didn't, but he's been there. He'd been there when we was living there. And I filed I was told to get a permit, and I got a permit, and I was denied. We got on our own property. Yeah, we was plugged into my sister-in-law for 7 years. We get our own property, and they won't give us no utilities. I mean, you're turning down money for the city. And there's several other travel trailers in this town hooked up.
So have you ever said the words to me, I don't live in this RV?
I didn't live in that RV. That was 2 years ago. The RV was there, but we didn't live in that one yet. My daughter just given it to us. It wasn't hooked up yet. It wasn't set up yet or nothing.
We need to stop that. It's against the new ordinance.
He can argue, but I can't. I mean,
The reason why I put it on here, like I say, it's about to get cold weather, and I feel like it's our duty as commissioners to do what we can to accommodate our citizens, and I'm just one vote, so.
I was pretty outspoken a few years ago on old age regular trailers. I'm a far cry louder whenever it comes to this can of worms that we're about to open here. There's a place for RVs, and it's not in the middle of neighborhoods, period. There's places in the county where you can lease a space, but I'll never be in support of this, and you're right. It is our duty to uphold the laws for our citizens, and allowing stuff like this isn't it. Sounds to me like we have a code enforcement issue, not a ordinance issue. I mean, I'll never support something like this. That opens a huge can of worms to what the future of Yale could look like in a few years if you start allowing this. Citywide RV park.
Anybody else?
I think there's a lot of people in the community right now that's just one step away from being on the street anyway, guys. Is what I think. And I feel like that we need to make some kind of concessions. I don't know whether this ordinance is the right way to do it, but I feel like we need to be able to make some kind of concession to help the people that's really struggling, that wants to try to do better. That's like I say, I'm not for sure that this ordinance is the right way to do it, but I do feel like we need something there to be able to make some kind of be able to help people rather than just like, well, here, go ahead and get out here on the street and just live. So, like I said, I'm not for sure I support this ordinance, but I think that we need to do something. There needs to be something there. So.
if I didn't have a travel trailer there, I'd still want utilities to my property.
Mike, you have any?
Well, all this came down to is the lot was dirty, right? I mean,
No, this is specific to allowing RVs anyway.
I know, but this is what this came into, and then we got into the RV deal. I don't know. I think if you went and cleaned your stuff up, you wouldn't got into this mess. That's just my. Now, I don't know if it's clean or dirty or what. I'm just like, I've been down there. I don't know.
At this point right now, it's not legal to have utilities to a sports to a travel trailer, but it's not legal to hook up utilities to travel trailers at this point right now. And that's what the whole point is. It's still legal to hook up to a travel trailer. So they plug into people's house. We're still getting paid for the utilities. But as of this point right now, it's illegal to furnish utilities to a travel trailer.
But then how about when we got into this deal about the yard, the lot being dirty? That's what started it, right?
No, I mean, that's what brought it to our attention, but they've been trying to get utilities hooked up and we can't hook it up. We can't furnish utilities.
If I didn't have an RV on that property, I couldn't get utilities to my property?
Anybody else have anything?
I don't think I can support this.
I already am down to speak about one thing, can I throw my 2 cents in here?
Nope.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 412.
I think you're gonna get a second, Jason.
Okay. Moving on. Consideration, discussion, and action to declare an emergency on 412. We don't need that. Item 7, general orders. Consideration, discussion, and action on a proposal from Schemer Associates Incorporated for architectural services on the senior citizens, City Hall, and Armory buildings.
They are here today.
Mark Andy with Shelton Associates is here to present on that.
Yeah, I'm open to any questions that you might have. Have you all seen the proposal? So what we were asked to do, I'll just kind of explain here, is to look at the senior citizens building, the new facility out here that we have, the older facility that was hit by the, I guess, tornado and wind. So lots of damage, and then look at doing some work here in City Hall, and then doing some work in the Armory. And I'm open to any questions you might have about any of those projects.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so we had Mark come out, we've had trouble getting an architect out, so I was very glad we finally got one. We do have to have bid specs from an architect on any government building, as Mr. Allen just explained. So while they were here, we just had them go ahead and look at all 3 sites. We do have a time frame on the senior citizens building. We have 365 days from the day of the claim, which I believe was June 23rd. I have spoken to the insurance company and let them know we've had some difficulties getting someone out. They have told me that we can apply for an extension if we get close on that time. So
I guess the question I had is, I know that we're, looking at doing an immediate renovation or reconstruction or rebuild of the senior citizen center, but and looking at the architect fees of the Armory as well as City Hall, I mean, is that something that we're looking at right now, or is that worth spending $45,000 on in architect fees at this time? And that's a city question. Sorry, I know you're here as well, but I just didn't fully understand that. I mean, is that a reasonable expense that we're looking at right now?
We have to go out for bids, so we have to have this done.
But are we looking at, my question is, I thought our focus right now is the senior citizen center, so what's the other 2?
Well,
And where are the
roof
funds
on
for
the
that?
Armory has been peeled off, and
which is also an insurance.
Oh, it is an insurance company. Okay.
yes.
Let me piggyback a little bit on what they say. Obviously, we would have to go out for bids under the competitive bid law, but there's also a state statute that says we must have an architect or an engineer sign off on any plans on any public building. And so it's not just that the staff is not capable of writing up and developing bids. Only an architect or someone with that type of training is qualified to do that. But then once we get to that point, we're going to have that signed off on and certified to the state of Oklahoma. And the licensing requirements for that are pretty basically that it's going to have to be an architect. So whenever you as a board decide you want to move forward on any of these projects, we're going to have an architect or someone of that nature involved to help us. We won't be able to get it done otherwise. And so the issue is, as I think you say, Commissioner, do we want to do all three right now? Do we have the money to do all three right now? Do we want to piggyback them? Not, are we going to have to hire an architect to do this at some point in life? We are. Easy answer.
Yeah, that's the question I had.
There's no avoiding. Whenever you want to do the senior citizen, we're going to have people like this gentleman. Whenever we do the Armory, same answer. And whatever we would decide to do on this building, same answer.
But I guess the question I had, and you kind of touched on it, that yes, we have to have it for each one. I understand that, but what is the immediate, the City Hall renovation? Talk us through that. What's going on there? I know there's some roof issues or whatever, but is this something that we're realistically going to spend $26,000 on now, and then $250,000 or whatever on in the near future? I know that we obviously have the Senior Citizen Center that needs rebuilt or remodeled now, but these other two kind of surprised me on here.
I want to get off a little bit on the end of the stick speaking for the manager, but the conversations he and I had a few weeks ago were pretty much let's see where we are on all three, what kind of dollars and cents we're talking about. And at that point in time, if there is no option available from staff for the board in terms of how to finance those things, or there is an option that's available to staff that the board doesn't like, yeah, you spend $25,000 to design this building that maybe is $25,000 not well spent, or maybe it's something 2 years from now when we find a grant was spent. Or maybe, Commissioner, there is a way that's determined when the results of their study are received that would allow us to find a way to finance all of it.
Yeah.
Don't know. I think kind of what we, three of us, had talked about a few weeks ago was it's the only way we know to find out those answers is to get someone qualified as these gentlemen are to provide those answers to us. And yeah, whether it's worth $25,000 or not, that's
what's our
35 of you to decide.
What's our immediate goal in spending $25,000 on City Hall renovations right now? What is our plan there? Other than to see what needs done, but what do you see that justifies this cost tonight?
Yesterday our roof is leaking. It's been leaking. We need to get out. We need to stop meeting in here. We need to start meeting back at City Hall, as far as I'm concerned. But in order to do that, if we want to get back in that little room, we can, but it's leaking too. That's up to, if you guys want to pursue this, we can pursue it, but I think the issue right now is we've got to get something done with the senior center. We got to get something done with the roof down there. We got to get something done with this roof. That's our three pressing things right now.
If the roof's not fixed on the Armory, it won't be worth fixing for very long. It needs to be fixed, or it's not going to be. It'll just be. It'll be unusable like a lot of other buildings.
Same way with City Hall.
I think I was excited to see this proposal having all three of these projects, because I think we've got some momentum going in Yale right now for the future. And that's part of our purpose as commissioners, is to look to the future, look to the health and well-being of the community and the citizens. And I just feel like, I think it's exciting. We've got a new, that whole new building with little popes and pizza and donuts, and the church is, making progress. And here we'll get this brand new senior center, community center, whatever it becomes. And I think there's options for the Armory. It's a beautiful building, and for us to lose another historic building like we did to our library, that's horrible. I think this is great, and I think as a former employee inside the City Hall, that place needs a lot of work. It is oppressive in there, and we can't stick lipstick on a pig over and over again, doesn't work. So we need to move forward with these things, whether it's, a long-term, 4 or 5 year plan, but I think the time is now for everything to do it.
Do these proposals have a shelf life as far as,
So I would think, for a year or so, yeah, they would be good for about a year, probably. I have to go back and look at it again, but yeah.
For the record, I guess I should say, because after Nancy kind of touched on that, my reservation or my questioning was not because I wasn't in support of having City Hall fixed. I just was seeing, what the plan was there. Realistically, if we spend $26,000 now, are we going to get it fixed in the next year? That was kind of my questioning. So.
So these are just architectural engineering fees. These aren't
Yeah,
construction.
yes.
Oh no, that's what.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. That's just
Yeah,
a
this is,
steep fee if we don't have a plan
Yeah.
to do anything with it.
Yeah.
This was my point. Thank you.
So the plan for the city hall is to expand out the vacuum machine into the fire bay, into that first bay. We would have to raise the floor, obviously, which they did look at. We did get a lot of complaints on the library being closed off during court and trial days, which is twice a month. Our dispatch and our police department have grown immensely, and they're running out of space. So that could also be expanded out into the bay as well. And then to do some very much needed remodeling in the front. The front counter is very small. If you have 2 people up there, it's not conducive for, 2 people to be helped at the same time. So we would like to make some changes up there, as well as I don't think any of the doorways are ADA compliant because the building is so old. So we would also need to be upgrading those things.
That's one of the things that you'll have to do is bring it up to code, because none of the hallways, the doorways, the bathrooms all have to be brought up to code. Right now, none of those meet ADA. So anybody in a wheelchair, blind, there's all kind of issues there, legal issues that could get the city sued if someone had a problem.
And you have to have an architectural plan engineered before you can do anything. Like I said, in this,
Yeah, we have to get it. We have to get, state fire marshal, whoever,
I'd hate to say what the plans cost for the new church down there. A lot of money.
We did have
Any,
looked at it a year ago, and they did tell us that basically we had band-aided it and patched it so many times that it would just not hold any more patches.
Yeah.
So it just continues to leak anytime it rains.
I think the only point that I had on that, from that, was I just want, right now, to me, the Senior Citizen Center or Community Center rebuild has been kind of front of mind for all of us, and I didn't want that to get overshadowed by other projects. So, I'm fine with all of them. I just want to make sure that we address the Senior Citizen Center, and not let that fall to the wayside. I didn't really want to paint it orange, but I guess we could. If I had some time.
Yeah, and the big thing about the Senior Citizen Center is we went over there and looked at it. There's a lot of obviously issues with what it is now. What are your plans for the future? How big? What do you want to do there? So that's why we put a fee of 10% of the construction cost, because we have no idea really what you want. But we'll work with you on that. But we have our opinion on it. It's in pretty bad shape right now. It looks like it's been like 3 different times built on, 3 different times. You got wood trusses, wood joists, and you have steel. And that back portion looks like it's really about to come off anyway. So, and I think it looks like maybe some of the floor, some of that older tile the glue had asbestos in it, and I don't know if anything's been looked at that over there. So yeah, it's got some issues. So.
Did you see any mold in there?
Quite a bit of mold. We went back and got masked this time. The other day I was
Yeah,
there.
good idea.
It
I
was,
wasn't going back in there.
Yeah, all the sheetrock. Basically, what you're talking about, if you're going to try to keep it, you got the whole inside, or rip everything off the outside. By that point, you might just start over with a new structure of some type. Maybe, again, we'll talk about how what you want it to look like in the image, too. That's, you may not want just a metal building over there. You may want something that looks a little bit nicer. So there's a lot to talk about, and we'll help you with all of that.
Mr. Lozier, do you want to speak on this?
My concern is just the senior center on the list here. And I fully support, we need the senior center. Whatever needs to be done, if it's torn down and rebuilt or fixed, I support that. But I'm not sure if you guys are all aware of the 19 houses that are buried to the southwest, the whole southwest corner behind it, and coming up to the south side. Is if you're going to expand, you don't have much room. I believe DEQ declared it was asbestos and other hazardous waste that the city dumped out there in 91, I think. And the city tried to clean it up, but it was such a mess. They did better just cover it over. But all the appliances, the houses, everything is there. I mean, it's all there. And so when you start trying to do foundation, you're looking at some of that's like 10 feet deep, and you have to cut it out. Then you're going to be stirring up the asbestos that's already in there. So you're kind of limited on your size you can build it. I mean, I'd love to have a super center there, whatever you can do. Just remember that that's there. You guys, some of you was here when they, on the other side of the church, had to have that, all the sinkholes filled in. There's a massive drain, I think, in the center of B in Boston. The culverts are washed out. They went down to the bank and stuff. Is one lady reminded me today. That whole area is unstable except for where the building is. And the building's set in the middle on one high ground, good spot. I just thought you need to be aware before you get too deeply involved in size to find out that it might cost you $200,000 to clean that mess up. And that's all I can say.
Anybody have anything else?
I think it'd be good for this town, this Yale. Of course, I'm going to be leaving this year here, but this would be nice to see just for our town, and a lot of improvements. Hopefully you can grow a little bit too.
And it all starts right here with the engineers and architects. So.
Yes. Is that a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
By Ken.
Mrs. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Strader,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mr. Larry Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Jason.
Yes. Moving on to item B, consideration, discussion, and action regarding the proposed sale of certain real property located in the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 17, Township 19 North, Range 6 east of the Indian Meridian, Payne County, State of Oklahoma, and commonly known as the Jim Thorpe Park Football Field and Ag Barn to the Yale Board of Education District 1-I-103.
Had this put on the agenda for purposes of having the opportunity to bring the board up to date where we stand with the possible transfer of the football field and the ag barn. As most of you, or maybe you don't know, the ordinance was actually published on the 21st of December under the charter provisions that runs it until January 21, and always I've all my life added one day, so January 22 is the date for the cutoff on the receiving of a referendum petition. If a referendum petition is received on or before the 22nd, then that would cause it to go to a vote like we had talked about in a couple of earlier meetings. If not, that would then allow us to proceed with our plans. The mostly good news is that thanks to Philip and Deanna, I've got concrete and tangible documents to deal with on one of the two grants. There are two grants. I guess the reason I say some good news is they're both federal government grants, which is where we run into the potential jeopardy of payback. One's from the Bureau of Land Management. I think I mentioned that to you before. It actually had contact with the gentleman in that office before Christmas. The other is with the National Park Service. And started trying to track them down, and I don't know how deep in the haystack that needle is going to be buried, but thus far haven't gotten that entity tracked down. That was a 1987 grant. And by the way, ironically, the contract was signed by Mayor Don Griffin. So maybe we should get him. That was for redoing the roads in Jim Thorpe Park, remodeling the bathhouse and some things like that. It was $22,000 and some odd dollars. I don't remember the exact number. But if I understand the federal regulations, the worst we could be would be to have to pay back $22,000 and some dollars. If in fact that's what would happen, and I'm not predicting that's what will happen, but I because of the documents we've got and what I've seen, it appears to me that's the maximum of our liability. The other is the grant that's a Bureau of Land Management grant on the tennis courts. That one was a few years earlier than this one that I just discussed. And I'm optimistic that the gentleman in Bureau of Land Management will eventually help us to come through and figure that one out. In the meantime, if the 22nd of this month comes and goes, then what I would plan to do, and if any, and certainly we can discuss it tonight the way it is on the agenda. We couldn't vote on anything. Put together a contract and have the city manager take that to the school for an actual sales agreement. We're going to need a written document, and they'll need a written document, not just what we will they. There are 2 or 3 aspects to it that I want you to be aware of. Back several weeks ago, I hired the abstract company in Stillwater. I may have mentioned this, I don't remember, to do a title opinion for us. Felt like that was the entity by far and above most qualified to research the status of our title, because that's what abstract companies do. Got that report from them since our last meeting, before tonight, obviously. There are about a half a dozen clouds on the title. Most, if not all of them, deal with stray deeds. When you take land that's been in our name for 85, I think it is, years, it's almost inevitable that somewhere along the way there's going to be a stray deed. One of them, and I haven't researched them all, I've read the title opinion, but one of them stems from a probate case over in Creek County back in the 70s. There are a couple of other stray deeds that don't recognize the names. They're nowhere in the chain of title, nowhere in the root title, but they pop up describing part of Jim Thorpe Park. And so if we had some reason to need to clean title, our remedy would be a quiet title suit. I intend to write the contract such that, for 2 reasons, that we deliver title by quitclaim by warranty deed. Number one, if there then needs to be remedial action taken to clean the title, the recipient of the deed would be responsible to do that. If they get a year from now and they've got a bond attorney that says, Nick so Billy, there's a cloud on the dirt, there's a cloud on this title, you're gonna have to clean it up. The way I'm going to draw the contract is that would be the obligation of the school. Secondly, I don't even think there's a needle in this haystack, and that is the abstract. There is no abstract. Abstract company guesstimated to me somewhere between $4,000 and $7,000 to build an abstract. If we deliver title by warranty deed, we're going to have to deliver an abstract. And so that would be a second reason that unless we put it on the agenda and you all vote, tell me otherwise. That's why I'm wanting to bring it out tonight so everybody will know. That's the second reason to do a quitclaim deed as opposed to a warranty deed. And then the other thing that, in my mind, I'm going to put in the contract is an indemnity provision that says we transfer it, providing notice that there may be a claim from the federal government for payback. We call it clawback. And that if that claim occurs and the city of Yale is subject to any clawback of any grants, that the school would pay that. And so, again, my plan right now is if there's no referendum received by the 22nd, put a contract together in that next week or so, get it to Philip to get to the school. It'll contain all the stuff that I've just visited with you about. Certainly ask any questions tonight you want to, or if there's any of that that just really gives you a heartache, then we can either hold up doing the contract and put it all on the February board meeting for you all to vote on it, or we could have a special meeting if you want to. I mean, if it's that big a deal to vote on it. But I want to let you know that's where we are, and that's what I plan to do as far as drafting the contract.
Ms. Hart, did you have something you'd like to say?
Yeah, after hearing Mr. McMillan there, he's basically confirmed what the newspaper wrote up about this won't be going to a vote.
That's what I was fixing to ask the same question.
And we were told multiple times in the meeting last month, and prior to that meeting, that it would go to a vote of the citizens, the voting population of Yale. Okay, that's heartburn, and that's heartburn for a lot of people in this town. Even though we want to see progression, that's heartburn. Another heartburn is you all settled on $50,000, and he's talking about $7,000 for an abstract, and possibly $22,000 something kickback on the city somewhere down the line for something else. And I don't know what that was. It's legal jargon to me. So, I mean, that's where I just have a lot of issue with the whole thing. I had issue with the fact that it was set at $50,000 when this town needs so much done to it. And Ms. Griffith, she actually said it'd be great to have an events center. But, you know, that's going to cost more money than what the insurance check is going to cover, obviously, with $45,000 architect fees. But, I mean, there's just, we need to help where we can, but it's city first. We're struggling here. We're struggling very hard in this town. We're struggling to keep people. We're not paying our bills. Let's put it that way. We're not keeping up with things that need to be kept up with. So, and this ownership thing, I don't know that we've actually proved the city owns anything yet. You know, we've been in touch with the family, the Doty family, and their abstract doesn't show anything. So I want to throw that out there for those people that are here.
That's why I hired the abstract company. The abstract company's report says without question the city owns it. There are no other ownership claims. And that,
I didn't hear you
the
say that.
abstract company has certified that. They have a certificate with the state of Oklahoma that if they certify incorrectly or wrongly, their liability is state. I have a document from the abstract company that certifies ownership.
The guy that said,
100%
I'll tell you after.
no other ownership.
There's a lot of quick on it.
Because of what I explained, maybe I didn't speak loudly enough, and I
I
apologize. for that.
understand, but usually a quick claim's given on something that's just take it or leave it, a piece of paper to wipe your rear with. Unfortunately, there's a lot of,
Those weren't the words
there's a
I
lot of
used.
stacks. You didn't use it.
No.
There's a lot of stacks in there, as you stated, there was claims. When someone gives me a clear title, there ain't a quick claim deed. There's a title of opinion given, he signs off on it, I use to pay for the insurance, and we're rolling to have that new abstract
We have clouds on our title, but clouds that can be cleaned up. None of the clouds on our title have anything to do with this supposed reversionary clause. There is no reversionary clause on anything.
And no clouds at our expense.
If there is a reversionary clause, then the abstract company has given me incorrect information, and I don't think they did. I can't imagine.
Just to me, it almost seems like all of this stuff should have been worked out.
And you stated that any other cost, if you had to if you have to do an abstract, you're gonna draw the contract up to where that's gonna revert back to the school. If there is, right?
Say again, Commissioner, I'm sorry.
You said that you're gonna draw the contract up to where if any of those incursions come, it's gonna revert back to the school. If they have to have an abstract, it'll revert back to the school.
Correct.
If that grant that we got, if the government comes up with that, that'll revert back to the school.
That's correct.
It's not gonna be part of the city.
Correct. Yes, sir.
I misunderstood, Roger. I was under the understanding that we did the 30-day referendum window, and after that 30 days, then it would be put to a vote of the people. And you're saying,
Go ahead, man.
you're saying now that if we don't get a petition, that we don't have to do a vote of the people. Can we still do a vote of the people?
If you want to, yes. Yes.
I feel like the citizens deserve a vote in this.
You've heard me say on multiple occasions, the state of Oklahoma legislature has messed up our authority to call elections. You know, once upon a time, Nancy worked the election board for so long. There was a point in life that there were like 6 Tuesdays out of the entire year when municipalities could not have elections. Now it's just the opposite. There are like 6 Tuesdays in the entire year when we can. I don't know what they are. They're so far between that I've not tried to memorize them. But yes, the answer to your question is absolutely. If you as a board decide that you want to put this, you can create your own referendum. There's the answer. That's what a referendum is. That's a vote on a particular issue. I think that's probably real close to what Webster would say a referendum is in Webster's book. The 5 of you as a board could call a referendum. You could, the city of Stillwater last did it in 2000 on the parking on the grass issue. They put it to a vote of the people. Do we want to have allow parking on the grass in houses in Stillwater? It's a referendum. You 5 can call a referendum if you wish to.
Myself
What I
personally,
can't tell you is what that date would be. I apologize. I interrupted.
I thought you were through. Myself personally, I'd like to see how many people's interested in voting. We have during the commission votes, we usually have 100 people. I'd like to see how many people in the community is even interested enough to vote for it. That would be my point. If we want to create a referendum, I'd like to see how many people's in. Is it 1 or 2, or is it 100? That would be my question. So that's kind of up to the community. What about you? I'm not opposed to having a vote. I'd just like to see how many people's even interested and concerned or even want to vote for it.
So we'd be talking several months and then quite an expense on that as well to the city to have an election. So
And potentially the school missing the bond cycle as a result as well.
That's if we can have everything turned into the election board by February 1st, we can get in on the April
get the April one,
election.
and we have one anyway. So we'll have our general election, 2 commission seats. So that would.
I have one other thing that I forgot to say about this. In the Oklahoma statutes, there's number 70-5-117-9 is regarding Title 70 schools. We are a Title 70 school, and it clearly states that school district funds may be used to erect buildings on leased land on which other buildings have already been erected prior. And they can erect new buildings on leased land from a government agency. I mean, the city of Yale's government We are a Title 70 school.
But they
So
have to
I'm
use
not
general
sure
funds,
where-
they can't use bond funds. If you ask the school that, they can't use bond funds for that, they can only use general funds out of their operating accounts for that. That's the issue.
That's the issue. I don't know enough about bonds.
Am I wrong on that? I mean, that's the whole issue, that if the school was to do any improvements to the current facilities, as they said, it's city.
That's what I've been told,
I
but
know that's what they're saying. Has
school
anybody-
finance law is a little different than
Research.
municipalities.
That's after talking to Mr. Kennedy up at the school. He was in contact with the Oklahoma School Board, and they're the ones that said absolutely no bond on leased property. Roger, did we need any action on this tonight?
No action item on it, Mayor, so no, sir. If, any of you think we need to revisit the comments I made about my intentions as far as drafting the contract, then we would either need to, as I said, put that on the February agenda to actually vote on it, or have a special meeting. Parenthetically, if there is a desire on the part of the board to put this to a vote of the people, we will have to have a special meeting to call that election. And we'll probably, well, no, today's the 9th. We could have it next week. I'm pretty certain, again, the election board deal is way different than it's always been all my life in terms of now the new rules about how much notification and when you can have. It's just totally topsy-turvy from what I've always done. But we would have to have sometime next week, I think, a special meeting to call an election if that's the direction the board wants to go. And we can't vote on it because it's not on the agenda. I'm not even really very comfortable y'all discussing it. In fact, it's not on the agenda.
So we should just make the motion to adjourn right now?
Yes, sir.
I'll do that.
Unless you want to talk some more about this.
I'll second.
Mrs. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Schrader,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mr. Larry Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Jason Brown.
Yes.